The video for March 13th, 2017 is titled, "By Law, Lawful Money Must Be Asset-Backed." The truth about money has been revealed again and again for the past few decades. Yet the fiat system, where the criminal bankers and politicians can create money backed by nothing, continues. This is true even though the corporate United States claimed bankruptcy in 1933 and at least a few times since then. Read http usatherepublic.com emergency powers dash. The United States went bankrupt in 1933 and was declared so by President Roosevelt by executive orders 6073, 6102, 6111, and Executive Order 6260. See Senate Report 93-549, pages 187 and 594 under the Trading with the Enemy Act, 65th Congress, Session 1. I don't know what CHS stands for, 105, 106, October 6th, 1917, and as codified at 12 USCA 95A. Of course, 1917 was when they founded the Federal Reserve, an unlawful and non-constitutional act of treason by those legislators present at that time. I know this is old for those of us that have been studying these things for some time, but there's a majority of people that still play the game as if the Federal Reserve is in reality lawful. It's never been lawful, ever, from its inception in 1917 rather. It's never been a lawful thing. They waited till most legislators went home, and then a handful of legislators passed the Federal Reserve Act over the Christmas holidays in 1917, committing fraud, and the fraud has stayed with us all these years since then. I said 1917, it really was 1913, wasn't it? Now I have some confusion in my head because I'm pretty sure it was 1913, even though the blurb says 1917. Something else happened in 1917, though. Anyway, the Federal Reserve Act, I think, was 1913. I could be wrong. In any case, the monetary system was taken over by the international bankers, what we know as the international bankers, or the House of Rothschild more accurately. And the leaders of that Federal Reserve movement have committed horrible acts ever since, because their whole game plan was to amass wealth for themselves. And of course, since war is the most profitable of all businesses, they began financing both sides in the World War I, World War II, and all the other little wars in between and since. They have been financing all sorts of animosity of nations against each other and getting our boys and girls, young men and young women, to shed their blood for this criminal elite class of international bankers that has run roughshod over human rights all of our lives. Folks, it's time that we wake up. There are many people waking up, but as long as they have the mainstream media reporting things that are not true, or mixing a little bit of things that are true with a whole bunch of things that aren't true, people don't wake up. It's time, though, that we have an awakening. It's time that we start paying attention. It's time that we get away and encourage people to get away from mainstream media and from the news on the TV, which is nothing but a mind-washing, mind control system of keeping people focused on things that are not important, not essential, in order to continue to cajole them and to keep the fraud operating. Right now, just a couple of years ago, the United States went bankrupt again. It is lawfully bankrupt. The corporation of the United States does not exist in reality, yet it exists in our unreal world of fiction. And it's a fictional world. It's a world that everything has been inverted, turned inside out and upside down. People are waking up, but still the game continues, despite those of us that have awakened, despite those that ended up being killed because they were whistleblowers that were gaining too much notoriety and people were beginning to pay attention. It's irreversible, however. The truth is going to win. The truth is coming out. The lies are being exposed. And there are those charlatans, as I see them, promoting that you don't pay attention to the negative because you just get more of it. I mean, this is total nonsense. The only way we wake up is by paying attention to the negative. That's what lets us see that we've missed the mark, that we're off course, that we're going in the wrong direction. That's what our wake-up call is all about. When we wake up to the fact that we've been lied to, deceived, cajoled, and conscripted to fight in wars and to focus on things that are not important, so that that which is important is left out. It's time for us to get back on track. It's time for us to at least temporarily reestablish lawful money backed by gold, silver, and precious metals, which the value of which remains unchanged, although in relation to the money that's created by fiat and out of thin air continues to make the price of gold and silver look like it's more and more expensive. It's really not. That is a stable currency. Fiat currency is never stable. It's always unstable. The full foundation is unstable because it's fraud. Folks, this is something that as we have a political and spiritual awakening that we must get our minds around, and we must get our hearts around the realization that only love and truth set us free. We can't be set free by continuing to believe the lies. We can't be set free by continuing the selfish preoccupation with demanding that we're right and everybody's wrong. That's not love. That's not love. I'd like for every man and woman on this planet to be restored to what God intended for us to be. But we've been so limited by the brainwashing that we've endured our entire lives that so few people, relative to the total population, even take the time to study enough to get it. And thus, humanity suffers. I'd like to see the suffering end. I'd like to see the bridge built that will lead us from the deception where we've been to the truth that truly liberates us and puts us on a path to regain our sovereignty, to regain our natural gifts, talents, and abilities that have been so rudely and crudely taken from us with our knowledge and unknowing consent, but nevertheless taken. It's time for the awakening. The time is now. I really appreciate those of you that continue to listen, and I thank you for listening to this video and sharing it. Namaste.